The media is just one part of these forces working to destroy the president since the day he came down the escalator. We have an important report to bring you. Pay very close attention to this from another force looking to take down the presidency. That's the deep state. All right, so everyone in the deep state, they don't talk about Russia collusion 2016, Trump, Russia anymore. No, instead they have decided, well, they can't find anything there, so let's move on to anything and everything else besides Russia. And Clinton paying for Russian lies to get warrants on people, presenting them to judges, lying to judges, fraud on judges as if they're gospel truth, but they never verified it. Tonight we're going to let's follow the Democrat Mueller model. We're going to investigate the investigators, and we're going to follow the money. There's a new book from the Government Accountability Institute, Seamus Bruner. It's titled Compromise. This is the same people that gave us Clinton Cash. Remember the best-selling book, Peter Schweizer, told us all about Uranium One. Still haven't got to the bottom of that either. This is how money and politics drive FBI corruption. Now, it is shining a light tonight on one troubling aspect of the deep state. Oh, and the FBI even. At the top levels, not rank and file. They have a revolving door between the federal government and the private sector. And the amount of money is staggering. According to Bruner in his new report, top bureaucratic sycophants leveraging their government experience and, security clearances mean money, apparently to garner huge payouts from large corporations. For example, Mr. Integrity himself, Jim Comey, his net worth skyrocketed by more than 4,000% after he left the DOJ in 2005. In 1 year alone, 2009, he made $6.1 million for his work with the contractor Lockheed Martin. That's 1 year. He worked 4 other years. We don't know how much he made those years. Those numbers have never been revealed, interestingly enough. And Mr. Integrity Comey, I don't remember him ever telling us this. And this came shortly, by the way, after the FBI, then under Comey, best friend forever, BFF Robert Mueller, granted a huge billion-dollar, boondoggle project to Lockheed Martin that some, see for what it is. And after Comey took the reins of the FBI in 2013, Robert Mueller cashed in big time himself. He started a consulting firm where he made millions of dollars representing clients he had previously doled out contracts to as the FBI director. And according to this book, 2 of Mueller's former clients were Facebook and Apple. Guess what? They're cooperating with the special counsel investigation. Oh, can you say conflict of interest? How is it possible we've never heard about any of this before? Now, if you think this sounds sketchy, corrupt, and a little bit of financial incestuous behavior here, because it is. Now, government officials using their status, leverage, and by the way, in all fairness, it may not be nefarious, professional, background, experience, all while acting like irreproachable super patriots. Remember, they knew better than us about who to elect in 2016. And we did reach out to Mueller and Comey. They didn't respond. Shocking. In moments, we're going to cover the government's revolving door in detail. We're going to talk to Seamus Bruner and Peter Schweizer. First, let's turn to the horrific, sad tragedy that has happened in the case of Molly Tibbetts, an illegal immigrant confessing to her murder. And today, Fox News has learned that the preliminary autopsy report is showing she was killed by sharp force injuries. And according to reports, the attorney for the murder suspect called his illegal immigrant client, quote, an all-American kid. And just moments ago, the defense attorney gave a bizarre interview with our own Martha McCallum. Take a look.
We know that he's an illegal immigrant who arrived from Mexico and has lived in Iowa for 4 to 7 years. So I fail to see how that's irrelevant or how bringing that in is not part of the facts that surround this case. How is it not?
That's rhetoric.
He came here illegally is just part of the equation. So to say that that's bringing politics into it, I think you're putting rhetoric and point of view on it.
Well, you're trying to say that his state of mind was in such a way. We're dealing with an individual that has a middle school education, so his perception is entitled to equal protection and due process. Now, you can jump to it and just say, these are the facts, but that doesn't make them facts because you say so, Martha.
Did he plead guilty today? Did this girl die? Meanwhile, some on the left, they're actually treating this tragic death of Molly Tibbetts in what is really can only be described as the cruelest way possible. Last night, we showed you how one MSNBC guest called Tibbetts, quote, a girl from Iowa that Fox News talks about. And now the rhetoric from Elizabeth Warren, frankly, just as heartless. Let's take a look at liberal compassion.
Sorry for the family here, and I know this is hard, not only for the family, but for the people in her community, the people throughout Iowa. But one of the things we have to remember is we need an immigration system that is effective, that focuses on where real problems are. Last month, I went down to the border, and I saw where children had been taken away from their mothers. I met with those mothers who had been lied to, who didn't know where their children were, who hadn't had a chance to talk to their children. And there was no plan for how they would be reunified with their children.
Actually, Donald Trump fixed that, Elizabeth. And where were you in the Obama years when it happened? Pretty despicable, all political. We'll have more on this horrific, horrible death later in the show. All right, joining us now first with more on the government's revolving door, the author of the brand new book, Compromised: How Money and Politics, as we've been saying, drive FBI corruption. Associate Director of Research for the Government Accountability Institute, Seamus Bruner. The President of the Government Accountability Institute, Peter Schweizer. He brought us the best-selling book, Clinton Cash. Look, I want to be very clear. I believe in capitalism, Seamus. I believe people should be paid for their knowledge, their background, their experience. What I'm concerned about is, look at the James Comey case. So he worked for Lockheed Martin from 2005 to 10?
Correct.
Okay. Did he ever disclose all of this relationship before? Because we only have the amount of money he made for 1 year. That would be 2009. Is that correct?
That's correct. Although we did follow the money and found that there were at least 160,000 stock options given, stocks and stock options given to James Comey. And at the time, 2009, that would have been worth upwards of $30 million. So it's not just the $6 million in 2009. I don't remember seeing. Is this new information you have? No, this is in the book.
Okay, because when I read it, I didn't understand. So we know that James Comey, you're saying, made $36 million at least, most of it in 2009, or some of that stock could have been from earlier years, 2005 to 2009?
Correct. From 2005 to 2009. By 2009, James Comey has over 160,000 shares of Lockheed Martin stock. And in 2009...
And didn't the top representatives, didn't they give him power of attorney to sign off on contracts, if I remember reading in your book?
Correct.
Okay. And by the way, Lockheed Martin is great, but they have billions of dollars in government contracts. They were working on, I guess, the next generation of human identification technology, for example.
That's correct. That among many people think of Lockheed Martin as a jet manufacturer, but in fact, their IT and computer technology department is one of their largest divisions.
Okay, so
yeah, no, it's great work, and I want to make that clear.
$36 million, but we don't know the salary for 4 of the 5 years that Comey made. Stock options and $6.1 million in 1 year, correct? That's what we know about. $36 million.
That's correct. Okay. That's correct, and it's one of the problems with these disclosures.
Did Robert Mueller sign off on the other end on the FBI on these deals? Was it him? Did he approve these contracts, and did his relationship with Comey help?
Well, we're talking about hundreds of millions of dollars in these contracts, and even $1 billion. So it strains credulity to think that Robert Mueller did not sign off on these contracts. Because this would be
for the FBI. Peter, let's bring you in and let you give some context and texture here. And again, maybe it's not nefarious at all. I don't know. That is an insane amount of money. And the fact that it's the two guys, did they both sign off on this?
Yeah, I mean, if you're the FBI director, say you're Robert Mueller or you're James Comey, and you have major intelligence contracts, as the FBI director, you're going to be aware of and sign off on those contracts. And the problem is, Sean, that some of these contracts are competitive, but some of them are non-compete. Even those that are competitive contracts, you get complaints. For example, IBM complained about the Lockheed Martin contract, the bidding process, and how that was carried forward. It's a classic example of crony capitalism, and as much as people might want to think that when you walk into the J. Edgar Hoover building, suddenly you're immune to human nature, it's not true. The same sort of crony capitalism and forces that affect people at the Pentagon.
Because we're going to continue to do follow-ups on this. This is an important question because it doesn't necessarily have to be nefarious. Did they disclose all of this? Because I never knew about any of it, and I read a lot about these men. Did they disclose this anywhere? Real quick, Peter.
No, they did not. They did minimum disclosures only when they went into public office. They did not disclose the gaps. So there are serious gaps that we don't know how much money was made.
We need to find out about the other 4 years. We'll have more on this soon. Joe DeGenova, David Schoen next. All right, joining us now with more to reaction to our opening monologue, civil and criminal defense attorney David Schoen, former U.S. attorney for the District of Columbia, Joe DeGenova. Joe, you heard my opening monologue. You also heard about follow the money. But let me go to the issue of Sessions. Clearly, the president feels betrayed that Sessions recused himself, didn't give him a heads up that he was going to do this, which is a big deal. And clearly, Sessions, based on his comments today, doesn't like the president. If the president fires him, though, he's in a box. Everybody's going to, I can hear it now, Saturday Night Massacre analogies all over the place. So the president's in a spot. He doesn't have an attorney general, never had an attorney general. The biggest abuse of power case, nothing happens on one side, but it only happens about taxi cab medallions and, bank loan applications.
Right. Well, the president of the United States was and is entitled to a fully engaged attorney general. He has never had that. Jeff Sessions made a terrible mistake. Besides accepting the job, knowing he would have to recuse himself in the single most important matter. As soon as he became Attorney General, Jeff Sessions should have had a major speech indicating what he thought about the way the Hillary Clinton case was handled and say that he was going to appoint a special counsel to investigate that case and to investigate the conduct of the people at senior levels of the FBI and the Department of Justice.
He should do it today. He should do it. Asked about FISA and Hillary.
He should do it today. And here's the problem. Jeff Sessions has no command presence. He doesn't understand the job that he has. He never has. It is very regrettable. But after the next election, Jeff should give the president the courtesy of a resignation. Because here's why, Sean. Jeff Sessions has told people that he doesn't believe that people at the Department of Justice are capable of the kinds of things that they are being accused of.
Comey,
he simply
McCabe,
refuses.
Strzok, Page, read. All you got to do is read.
Sean, he is blind. Jeff Sessions is blind, and he's surrounded by Rod Rosenstein, who agrees with him, and an FBI director in Chris Wray, who is an empty suit, who, by the way, has never said a nasty word about all of the people that were at the head of the FBI before him. He is so out of his league as FBI director. And so what is the president presented with? 3 people who don't know how to do their jobs. Sessions, Rosenstein, and Wray.
It becomes, as I said,
he can't. Jeff Sessions has to be a man and resign after the election.
Listen, the president has the Article 2 authority to do exactly that. This is a person who serves at his will.
And the political fallout.
You're right, and he's being counseled on the political fallout, undoubtedly. But this president has to stop being reactive and concerned about those things once and for all. He was elected to be a man of action. He was elected to serve his constituency, which is at least half of the country. He needs action in this position.
You see,
he does.
You see where we are now. These people have wanted to impeach him. We saw what they tried to do to prevent him from winning.
Right.
Then he won anyway.
Right.
And then they still are going after him. They never stop going after him. The election in the minds of the deep state never stops.
But that's just the point. They're going to continue that no matter what he does or if he does nothing. That's an effort to overturn the election results through other means.
Why don't we do it through the election process?
Exactly. They can't do it through the ballot box.
Look, Joe, I'm a capitalist. I don't care that people make money. And frankly, if you are the FBI director, that experience is worth money in the private sector. I want to be very clear. I don't know if anything nefarious has gone on. Why did I not know until I read this book? 36 million, and we don't know the salary of 4 of the 5 years.
Because James Comey and Bob Mueller and people like Chris Wray do one thing very well. They hide their bad faults. And Comey and Mueller are so close They're like they came out of the same womb. This is so outrageous about the conflicts of interest that exist with Mueller. He never should have been appointed special counsel. Rosenstein knew that. He knew about all those conflicts, and yet he did it anyway. He did it because
Comey got the guy hired. He worked for Lockheed Martin. Comey's the FBI director. All this money
Couldn't agree with you more. Couldn't agree with you more. These are politically corrupt people. The conflicts are outrageous. And as I said, after the next election, Jeff Sessions should resign and make way for a real attorney general who
need a special counsel, and this is part of that same pattern, by the way, of these folks out of office supporting each other. That's why you heard so many former officials screaming when Brennan had his security clearance taken away, when clearly it had to be taken away. It's an old boys network, and that's what President Trump threatens.
All right, thank you both. When we come back, breaking news, a news-breaking report from Sarah Carter on the war of words between the president and the Attorney General Jeff Sessions. Also, Greg Jarrett joins us, and we'll talk to Jesse and Jessica, and we'll find out who owns the world tonight. Straight ahead.
The president's entitled to attorney general he has faith in, somebody that's qualified for the job. And I think there will come a time, sooner rather than later, where it will be time to have a new face and a fresh voice at the Department of Justice. Clearly, Attorney General Sessions doesn't have the competence of the president, and all I can say is that I have a lot of respect for the Attorney General, but that's an important office in the country, and after the election, I think there will be some serious discussions about a new Attorney General.
Senator Lindsey Graham earlier today making an often forgotten point that the president ought to have an attorney general he has faith in, he trusts. Clearly, there's a crisis of confidence. Sarah Carter, brand new piece out tonight entitled, quote, "Time for Sessions to Leave the DOJ, Senior Senate Leaders Say." Here the reaction, author of the #1 New York Times bestseller, currently The Russian Hoax, the illicit scheme to clear Hillary Clinton, frame Donald Trump. Greg Jarrett, and Fox News investigative reporter and contributor Sarah Carter. Sarah, we'll start with your report here. Obviously, the president's lost confidence. Obviously, too, Jeff Sessions doesn't really seem to like the president. It's pretty obvious with his statement today. Obviously, all these issues, I put a series of questions in my monologue. I don't know if you heard it, but I put those to the Department of Justice today. I did get an answer. Sarah Flores, their spokesperson, and it's a fair answer. They don't talk about ongoing investigations or potential investigations. I get it. They can't talk about it, but we don't see anything. All we hear, it's every minute detail about taxi cabs and porn stars and all the nonsense of bank applications, nothing about Russia campaign, Trump 2016. Why don't we see? We know these crimes committed.
We're left in the dark, Sean, and I think this is the biggest problem right now. Look, the relationship between President Trump and Attorney General Jeff Sessions is severed. It's doing more damage to the country and the administration than having him there. And I think there's going to come a point, and this is what I've been talking to sources all over Capitol Hill and even at the DOJ, there's going to be a point where Attorney General Jeff Sessions is probably going to make a decision to resign. And I think that would be the best thing for the country and for the administration.
I've known this man for years, and I've always liked him. I don't want to talk, but I cannot believe the paralysis here. I cannot believe. Fine, if he felt the need to recuse, A, he should have told the president when he was appointed. B, he still has the ability to appoint a special counsel. This guy, we haven't heard a peep out of this guy, Huber, out in Salt Lake City. We got an inspector general report. Where's the special counsel here? Because we know that FISA court judges were lied to. We know it. We know that Clinton paid for and funneled money to a Fusion GPS and a foreign national, and Russian lies were fed to the American people. It's about Russia. Why wouldn't they concern themselves about at least one subject dealing with Russia interference and Hillary paying for the interference?
He needs to actually come forward and speak to the American people. And I'm talking about Attorney General Jeff Sessions. We know U.S. Attorney John Huber from Utah has been charged with investigating. Remember, there's 27 leak investigations at the Department of Justice ongoing. But we're left completely in the dark, Sean. We don't know what's going on with that. And let's go back to Lieutenant General Michael Flynn, who was the National Security Advisor.
Yeah,
one of the biggest breaches. Yes, one of the biggest breaches in a leak of a tech cut of a conversation.
Right. Crimes was committed.
Were committed.
All right.
Yes.
Well, we know Hillary committed crimes and obstructed, Greg. It's irrefutable. The evidence is overwhelming and incontrovertible. We also know that FISA judges were lied to. Russian lies bought and paid for by Hillary, and that we know warrants were issued, that if the judges knew the truth and the facts, and all these people in the so-called Department of Justice at the highest levels signed off on it, they signed off without verifying and corroborating. They're not allowed to do that. If I lied to a judge, if I deleted and destroyed evidence that was subpoenaed, you and a team of the best lawyers in the country wouldn't get me out of jail.
It's inexplicable. It's indefensible. Jeff Sessions should have immediately reopened the Hillary Clinton email case. He should have immediately launched an investigation into the law enforcers who became lawbreakers, and especially the FISA case. I mean, it is at least 6 different felonies to use an unverified, phony document to gain a warrant to wiretap. Jeff Sessions, breached egregiously the trust of the president. He knew when he was sworn in that he was going to recuse himself. He testified before Congress.
By the way, he cited the
set
wrong
it in
law.
motion the next day.
He cited the wrong law during his recusal.
It makes you wonder, did he even read the regulation that he cited? He would have realized, oh, this is a counterintelligence probe and recusal is in criminal cases only. And that's one of the many things that has angered President Trump, that this is a guy who immediately upon being sworn in breached the confidence and trust of the president.
We have this new book out. It exposes information I never knew about. We just found out $36 million paid to Jim Comey, who works for Lockheed Martin. And I don't know that anything nefarious. I believe in the capitalist system. You're a former FBI director. You value is high in the private sector. I agree with that. But then the contracts with Lockheed Martin, and they get billions in government contracts, they're going through Mueller's FBI. Did either of you hear about this before tonight?
Well, I heard about it about 10 days ago because I got an advanced copy of the book. And
okay. Point made. Exactly.
I mean, but it's stunning to me. This is a revolving door of government service and big business in which people like James Comey are enriching themselves by trading on and leveraging their friendship.
Sarah, shouldn't we have heard 36? By the way, we still don't know his salary for 4 other years.
That's right. And you think there would be some kind of disclosure, Sean. I mean, this is what we saw in the Pentagon for so long with research and development, with R&D, this revolving door going back and forth and people pocketing money for their friends and basically slowing down the process of research and development. And here with Comey, we see it happening with the FBI. We also saw it happening at State Department. Why don't they have to disclose
these relationships? Why don't they have? That's a serious amount of money. And
it is.
I want to know maybe he'll disclose tomorrow the other 4 years that he worked for Lockheed Martin so we can get the full picture. How many other stock options might he have gotten?
Well, it should be against the law for a government official like Mueller to lavish a no-bid contract on a company in which a longtime friend and ally is working.
You're sure it's no bid?
That's right.
According to the book.
Wow. Unbelievable.
They're saying.
All right, guys, keep up the good work. And
Thank you.
Be careful about late night, early morning knocks on your door. When you tell the truth in America, apparently that's a problem. Thank you both. When we come back, President Trump slamming Democrats over illegal immigration, border security, following the murder of Iowa college student, this young woman, Molly Tibbetts. Jessica, they're next.